What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. BobbyFi back with my man Sheets. We are going to be talking about FanDuel lineup builds today on a really interesting slate. Hopefully, you guys caught the DraftKings video we just did. Sheets, what are your initial thoughts about the differences on DraftKings and FanDuel?
Well, you have these usual guys that just get underpriced on at FanDuel compared to DraftKings, like Serge Ibaka again, who's going to be probably in most of my lineups again. But what's interesting to me, it's so fun. As I was going through the preparation for this, I start by kind of putting the chalkier guys in here, and then I go through and see who are lower owned guys that kind of might fit in, to these lineups or whatever. And I do actually see like one game that's going to be starting to get a little bit of my pivot action. Let's put it that way, which might not be who you think. I don't know. We'll see. But I think the idea is the same with FanDuel as usual, is that you don't need to get to drop to the same value sometimes as you need to on DraftKings to get what you want, because these other guys are so low priced. As far as a slate overview, this Memphis news is basically just driving everything right now, because at the beginning of the day, there was going to be no Jaren Jackson Jr., which meant that Brandon Clark was made a great play. And then Brandon Clark was ruled out, which meant the entire team became a great play. And then about 10 minutes ago, De'Anthony Melton was ruled back. I was ruled back in, but upgraded to questionable, which of course means that he's probably a 50.01% chance to play. Who knows?
No, higher than that, I think.
Which means that some of these guys become a little less viable. So throw a little swerve in there. But this slate is kind of all about, from a basketball perspective, is all about the return to basketball in Los Angeles. Oh well, the Clippers played last night, but LeBron's returned back to the court since Kobe's passing, and it's gonna be a lot of eyes on that game, and there's gonna be a lot of eyes on that game from a DFS perspective as well. And also the Houston-Dallas game with Luka out is going to generate value out of that game. And Harden, the whole thing of whether Harden's washed or whether he's just in a bad slump or whether Westbrook's taking over. I think it's a really, really interesting slate. And I think that, as I said on DraftKings, whoever wins this slate should get some kind of special T-shirt, because this is going to be really difficult to win.
Thanks. I'll accept that T-shirt. Let's do it, man. I'm excited about this slate. This is It's a really, I'm going to the Laker game obviously tonight. I'm looking forward to getting some Lillard and LeBron lineups, and we'll start off at point guard talking about that. I think it's hard to play Westbrook over here for me. I'll get your thoughts in just like one second, but I was going to say, like, I do just find myself it's hard not to play Brunson still at that price. But then I feel like you've got a bunch of other options. I like Lillard and LeBron too, but I think he'll be a little bit more popular over here than he is on DraftKings. And I think there's a lot of guys we could make different arguments for at point guard, but there's probably only a few that I'm going to end up using. Who are you looking at?
So my top four that I thought were going to be high owned, that maybe one of them's not going to be as high owned as I first thought, is going to be Jalen Brunson, Ricky Rubio, who I'm probably not going to play, but he's on here right now just to show you. Brunson, Rubio, and Westbrook. I think Westbrook is fine. 11-1 is just a number. I still think that he rates to be a really good play here. I don't want to play him and Harden together, but he rates to be fine. And the next guy I thought was gonna be owned was Ja Morant, but I think that with Melton back, maybe like you were saying, maybe he won't be needed to play 35, 36 minutes. So he was the next guy as kind of my top plays. But the guy I'm being drawn to now is like kind of my pivot. This is the way I do it. I look and see, okay, who I like, how it corresponds with who everybody else likes, and then say who's just maybe a little bit worse or even better, one of my best plays who nobody's really playing, and I'm being drawn to Lonzo Ball actually as my first attempt to get off of this chalk. I'm not going to play Rubio anyway, just because I think I'm going to end up playing Booker from this game, or maybe somebody else. But Rubio looks like pretty good points per dollar play. But for whatever reason, I think that Ball is kind of the next one on the list for me, and he's really not, at least what I'm looking at now, not getting too much ownership. So he's the first guy that I'm going to just kind of put out there as the kind of secondary play.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting call. It's not a guy who I'm as high on, but I love them. I mean, I do like the matchup. I just think that it still feels unknown for me. I like him. If it wasn't so many guys I like, I guess is the answer. If instead of Lonzo, I would rather just jump up and play Lowry personally. I also don't mind Chris Paul and like Ja quite a bit. And then I really like Kyrie and Lillard at the top, near the top, along with Westbrook. So for me, I'm finding myself in the I'll take the 0% owned Kyle Lowry, get my 45 and go, or possibly.
I like it.
I think that's an interesting way to go. And I think that Kyrie, again, is going to have a big game. I don't love the matchup, obviously, but I do think he's an interesting play. But I also really like the Lillard-LeBron combo. So it's sort of a deciding between a lot of these things for me, and it'll probably be affected. Like, I think that you could play it's hard, again, for me to fade Brunson, but I do think you could throw in a Ja versus Lonzo lineup if you wanted to stack that game. Everybody's pretty affordable, so it's pretty doable. But yeah, that's basically where I'm looking at point guard. I think that I'm heavier on the Lillard and Morant Brunson angle than anything else, with a little bit of Kyrie and I guess a little bit of Alonzo in there, and then of course Lowry.
Okay. At shooting guard, so the top play and the top projected play is going to be Harden, right? Just as far as raw points goes. And you know how it works with FanDuel. When you have raw points issues, that's what makes these guys very popular, good plays. But I'm going to suggest that there are possibilities where you can get raw points elsewhere in this position. Actually, before I get there, the two main quote unquote values, at least there were. I don't know if we've updated anything since Melton's ruled back in. Is going to be the lower side would be Kyle Anderson. I think he's 3,600 here.
Yeah.
And if you want to move up a little bit, Dylan Brooks at 5,600 from that same game. So those would be the two quote unquote values that are going to probably get ownership that look okay. The place I might end up going, though, is in the middle and try to get some upside and to get some points out of the guys I usually like to play from the shooting guard position. And that's going to be, either – I'll just throw him in here. Either going to be maybe Devin Booker. Okay, he's one way I would go. The other way I might go is back to Zach LaVine. Okay, they all have the same kind of profile. And the other one I might go to be a little bit, really different would be to Drew Holiday, right? So all the three of those guys to me at different levels fit that kind of like has good upside, good shooting guard upside that I might go at really, really low ownership instead of either paying all the way up for Harden or paying all the way down for someone like with Kyle Anderson. I think those guys I mentioned, like the Holiday, Booker, and what's his name, Zach LaVine, are going to kind of fall through the cracks a little bit.
Yeah, I find that as well. Harden, if it's for me, it's Harden. I do actually like Booker though. I think Harden, Booker, Brooks, and probably DeLon Wright are my favorite plays, and I don't really know that I'm going to look too far elsewhere. If there's no Gary Harris and no Jamal Murray again, I think you can consider Torrey Craig at 39. But I would rather. I think he'd have more minutes, so I actually think he'd be fine. Or Malik Beasley at 37 if he really wanted to punt. But mostly it's going to be the 5,600 Brooks, and then the top three guys, LaVine, Booker, and Harden.
Okay.
I did not want more interested in Drew. I think I probably should be a little bit more interested in Drew, and I think maybe we both should.
But you know what it is? It's with Zion there. It's everybody's very, I don't want to say confused, but they're very, it's a mystery. They haven't really played with him that often, and you wonder how much usage he's going to take away from everybody. So on the one hand, that's why it's tough to project these guys with Zion in finally, and it's also going to keep all their ownerships low. So we'll see.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so at the small forward position, the best play by, I don't want to say a lot, but by a decent amount is going to be Harden. It's going to be LeBron for all the reasons you would expect. But I want to take it back. I don't think it's really by a lot. And I toyed with this idea on DraftKings, and unfortunately, I might have to do it on FanDuel if he's going to be low owned here. Also, I might pay the 400 for Giannis. I know it's boy, it's going to be probably hard to do because LeBron's in a much closer game. He's triple motivated and all this stuff. But and I'll watch the ownership. Like if Giannis is 15% and LeBron's like 40, maybe that'll be like the break even for me. But if we think somehow that Giannis is going to be completely low owned, I might just try to take a shot at it just to be different, maybe on one or two lineups. The other guys that people are going to play, which certainly makes sense, are some value guys from the games we talked about. One of them is going to be Jay Crowder. Now, again, he's not going to be quite as good of a play with Melton back, but he's still, I think, at 4,400 is going to be tough to ignore. And one guy who's going to be really, really strong value, who nobody really likes to play, but it's kind of tough to ignore at 4,300 is Tim Hardaway Jr. in the Dallas game. There's just nowhere to go. And at 4,300, I think that he's going to be popular, and I think that he's probably a good play. So what I would say is, with the exception of Giannis, which scares the crap out of me to fade LeBron, the other pivot I would make off of, these different ranges is pay up a little bit and go back to this Phoenix game and maybe go for Kelly Oubre. He's going to be definitely the lowest owned of the guys that I've mentioned already. And I'll take a shot with him. If people are going to play Rubio, I'll play Oubre and or Booker instead. So again, from a pivot perspective, I think Oubre would be, you can tell me whether it's not even off the board or not, but Oubre would be the place I would try if I didn't want to be completely psycho and take Giannis over LeBron.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good cheap plays at the same range. I think that just Ariza, Crowder, and Hardaway are the guys I was looking at other than LeBron. I don't really think that how do I say this right? I get the argument of the Giannis, just flat out maybe be whatever, a better play. I'm just going to play LeBron. I don't really.
I got you. No, I'm with you. I feel it.
Right.
But the funny thing is that's if you hear it, if you talk to even like from amateurs all the way through the top experts, even the top experts they're going to be very math driven. They're going to be like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to do this, but I'm just playing LeBron. And that's what you're going to hear. And I guess I'm going to end up playing Giannis. I don't know what to tell you.
It's interesting. No, honestly, you could play both of them. Like, that's not an impossible build at all. By the way, there's a lot of other places you can get value if you want to on the slate. It's I'm struggling between the Ariza, Hardaway, Crowder. Like, obviously Hardaway is going to be higher owned. I like Crowder as a pivot off of that, but I do like Hardaway a bit. I also like that I'm going to play a little bit of Harden, so I want to get, having some run back in that game, especially in that environment, is really good. Kind of struggling a little bit with the final parts of the small forward to get off the board, other than just going to Crowder or Ariza, which is not going to be that off the board either. I'm actually not sure that Ariza may not be a better play than Hardaway, but Hardaway is going to be more. He'll be more owned. I want to see how much more owned before I make my final decision, I guess.
Then whom?
Then Ariza.
Oh, he's going to be much more popular than Ariza.
Yeah, but Ariza is a really solid play.
I'm not saying it in a bad way. You're telling me that you hope that one's. I'm just telling. That. There's just no way.
Play them both. Skip LeBron.
What's Ariza? He's up to 4,300.
Yeah.
It's gonna. I think that Hardaway's gonna be really popular. So if you really do like Ariza equally to Hardaway, I think you're getting a pretty good leverage on them.
Even when Hardaway's had these spots before, he hasn't.
I know.
Done anything, and it's not like he creates shots. He's just a shooter.
Right.
Trevor Ariza is just a shooter also, and they're down a man playing back in LA. He scored 33 and 37 in 2 of his last 3 games. He's going to probably, if the game is reasonably close, going to play like 38 minutes. I don't know, and they all work as different run backs for the lineups I'm using. So I could make a good case for all of them. I'm starting to lean a little bit more Ariza, to be honest.
The only thing is that I was going to say Ariza. I guess he's fine.
Yeah.
All right. We go to power forward. And power forward for me is boring because my top 5 plays are the top 5 plays of everybody else. so I'm just going to just throw them out there. It really in no particular order. As actually Zion and Serge look to be the two best, and the public is going to agree. I got an idea for you. All right, so the next three guys I have as Davis, Porzingis, and Favors. So what you could do is, one thing is, if you think that Zion's going to be really popular, again, you could pivot to Favors a little bit if you want to try that. Or if you think that LeBron is going to be really popular, which he will be, maybe you could just play Anthony Davis, at power forward. Can you play both of them? I don't know. That's your department. I wouldn't. But aside from that, I don't really see anything particularly sexy at this position to get off of what's pretty much the 4 or 5 chalkiest players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Kristaps. Did you mention Kristaps?
I did.
Yeah, I would go right now. My ranking is Zion and Kristaps just as the lower owned pairing than Serge, and
that's true.
One of those. So I just feel like I feel like everybody's going to play Serge, and that's fine. I like Serge too. But so just for the pairing, but those are my favorite 3. And I don't see a ton of reason to get all that creative unless again, we get all the guys out in Denver. I think Michael Porter Jr. becomes a strong play at 4,800. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else for you here.
Yeah.
Anthony
so again, it's just that position today. I mean, it's just a little boring for me.
Yeah, and I think Anthony Davis is going to have some ownership a little bit, but I think that you can actually play him with LeBron tonight if you want to. I really do.
It'd be nice if you could play all 3 of them, those 2 and Dave and Lillard in the same line.
You could do it. You could absolutely do it.
Or you could play, we didn't really talk about too much, but you could play McCollum in that lineup too.
Yeah, I don't like McCollum as much on FanDuel. You lose the 3-point bonus, not as many, not as high of a steal block guy, but I do think he's viable.
Okay. So I got to tell you, the way we've handled centers in the past 3 or 4 slates have been really, really strong. So I'm going to hopefully keep that up with the analysis of today's centers. As of now, Jonas Valanciunas is rated to be just insanely the most popular play on the slate, and we could talk about why. I mean, look, all the other big men are out, and it's a I want to say good matchup. It's a fast-paced matchup, which just means it's going to be more possessions, which just means he's going to project really high, and he's going to be, really, really popular. So, look, he's a good play, and you can play him. But if you don't want to do that, I think my analysis can be exact same as it was for last night's slate on the last couple. Is one thing you could do is you can kind of go all the way up, right? So you could pay up for center, and there's 2 ways that you could pay up for center. One of them is to go with the more popular guys, which would be Drummond and Whiteside, I think. Certainly makes a lot of sense. But, and this is, kind of gross and nasty off a back-to-back especially, but if you want to go through the lower stone of the pay-ups, you can go to Jokic at 9,800. He's going to, again, I think he's going to be much lower on than the first 2, and I think that's one way you could do it. Or, again, this is just the way it plays out. The other thing you could do is you could play even, I don't say a lower own, but you could play DeAndre Ayton. And that's like a 3rd guy from this Phoenix game, for whatever reason, it's dropping into my pivots. I'm not sure why that is. Or if you wanted to just do even further, you could play Steven Adams at 5,300. I don't think I'm going to do that, but there are ways to not play Valanciunas and win. You know what I mean? And get good plays and get good leverage.
Yeah, Valanciunas is so here's my guy. It's a weird position. You want the weird pivot, the Damian Jones pivot. It's Cristiano Felicio. Okay. I'm starting to get more and more behind this play as I think about it on FanDuel specifically. Because if you can take that value that everyone's going to search for elsewhere and flip it to center and play literally an unknown player, where there's not really even as good as play as Joe Val might be, it's not like Joe Val at 7K is ever a sure thing for 30 fantasy points. He literally can play 24 minutes in the game sometimes, depending on how the game goes. Now, obviously, with the guys out, he should smash and he should get more minutes and all the yada, yada, yada. But if you want to play a little bit differently, even if, let's just say he does have 45. Let's say Felicio gets 25. You're completely in there. let's say Felicio gets 20. He got played 29 minutes in the last game. You get Brooklyn up there with 2 bigs. What if Felicio plays 28 minutes in this game and he puts up 30? And what if Valanciunas puts up 35? Do you know how far ahead of the field you are? Like literally how far ahead of the field you are? It's just a great game theory play. Now, I really like this idea. I don't know how much I'm going to go with it, but I'm definitely going to do it some.
Well, and I didn't play with this yet, but remember I talked about this on DraftKings. Is that if you want to pay down for like a guy, and we were talking about with respect to Solomon Hill, but the idea is this: what is doing that getting you? And I think on FanDuel, I know what it gets you. So like if you can actually find a way to play like Lillard and LeBron and some of these other higher priced guys, or if you wanted to play, for example, LeBron and AD together, like LeBron, AD, and Lillard, all 3 of them or something like that. Or God forbid you want to play Giannis and LeBron and what's his face and Lillard. Mm-hmm. That's what playing a guy like Felicio does for you. Even if he gets like 12 points, you know what I mean? Like even if he gets like 15 points.
Yeah, you can cash with having that type of a score. You obviously aren't going to probably win a tournament, but you can certainly cash with it on this kind of a slate. Like these other centers, I mean, Jokic could smash. You could gamble on that. As much as we used to like to pick on Milwaukee with centers,
it's an atrocious situation.
In a little bit of a different story this year. Andre Drummond is kind of like an interesting, if you wanted to like. But who else are we getting excited by? We could play DeAndre Ayton, but is that like thrilling? Steven Adams, you have to worry about the minutes, but is probably. Steven Adams actually has plenty of upside here at low ownership, so I would consider Steven Adams as well. But there's nobody that exciting, so why not take that opportunity to take the punt guy who is going to play 20 plus minutes, who might play as many as 30 minutes, and let's do it. I don't know. That's where I'm at. Yeah,
and as we talk about, to win these things, especially like depends like what tournament you're trying to win. So we should talk about this one day. So like in your bigger tournaments that you went to, like your bigger buy-ins, and this seems going to seem logical, but the bigger your buy-ins, I guess, and the lower the amount of entries, the less pivots you need to make and the less egregious they need to make, right? So like if you're playing like a FanDuel lineup and you're playing like your big one, whatever that is tonight, like you only need, maybe even one, or 2 like guys like that. And that's all you need to put yourself in business. Whereas if you were playing like the big $7 one, you would need to not only do that, but maybe, a few others. But again, depending on if you're playing him in your big lineup, for example, it opens up the ability to just play who you want in the other positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And it more than even opening it up, there's just how do you say it? Like it's not just about opening it up. It's about differentiating your build, I guess, is what you should be focusing on. And that's what it really does for you. And I really like that, that type of build today. Like you're going to find a lot of the same types of builds on FanDuel and these weird, wild pivots. And by the way, I was one night off when I picked the Damian Jones thing. I played him in my 555 the other night, 888 and on FanDuel. And he was my lone center. And I was literally the only person who had him. He only put up 15. Still cashed. And then, last night he put up 30. If I would have had that one, I would have won a couple thousand more for me, but nothing crazy. But still, if you get a guy with 30 in that spot and you get the other spots right, you are just you're playing from so far ahead.
I have a question for you. I'm just looking at this power forward position again for just a second. Serge Ibaka at 50% ownership. I mean, if I could find 700 for a Kristaps or Porzingis, I probably want to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Where's the question? I'm totally with you.
Yeah. Okay.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. My question tonight is, do I even bother making any non-LeBron lineups? And my answer is probably yes, just because I'm going to play enough lineups to where I can. But I really don't think that I'll be fading him too often.
Yeah.
I do like Steven Adams over here. I mean, we know that Phoenix can play a little bit bigger. We know his minutes have been a little bit limited. But 5,300, there's still upside there. Just a guy to consider. But I do think that if we're going to play him, why not go down to Felicio and play him at 36?
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I'm only going to play probably, and this is why I've been doing pretty well doing this. I'm probably going to be playing like 9 lineups or so on FanDuel tonight, and I don't think that there's anybody that it's hard to say, but I don't even think I'm locking anybody in. I think I'll even try to fade Brunson on a lineup.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think he's. I mean, I don't think anybody's a stone lock tonight. I just don't.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of, and what's great is there's a lot of players in similar price ranges people have to decide between. And usually, while I say, especially on DraftKings, you want to try and pick those players together, it's a little harder to do over here on DK. But that's sort of what I like about the playing. Like I got to imagine that even though Kristaps will have ownership and Zion will have ownership, that combination, when you have 700 less for Ibaka, who just feels like a sure thing for like 35, you know, it feels like something people just aren't going to do, even though they might both have ownership.
Yeah.
And
it seems it's so weird. Like it seems to me that I don't want to say it seems easier on FanDuel, but it seems as though it's easier to create lineups that you feel comfortable with on FanDuel.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's always like that, I suppose.
Well, also what I love is there's easier ways to create lineups that you feel comfortable with that actually are still
that's what I mean.
Borderline close to the other place. One is barely better than the other in most cases.
Yep.
So
I guess that's it. Any did you do ownerships for this or not?
I don't have my actual written ownerships, but I'm gonna go look through my lineups and just see who I've got real quick. Most of the places I've got a ton of Harden over here. Just a 10-1. I'm having a hard time not having some of that. Basically, I have a lot of Felicio, Steven Adams, Valanciunas as my centers, with a little bit of Drummond and Jokic. I've got a lot of Jalen Brunson that I probably need to get off of a little bit just to try and differentiate, because I have when I say a lot, I mean like a hell of a lot. Like it's way too much, probably, Jalen Brunson. And I really like the idea of the Lillard LeBron over here. LeBron is the one guy who I have the most lineups in. And the guys who I'd like to get more into more lineups is the Kyrie, Booker, Levine trio. I think that's where you can differentiate and make some money. If one of those guys I expect to get extremely hot tonight. And one great thing about all those guys, we know that they're going to keep trying for us.
Yeah. So Bobby, if you're going to the game tonight, we'll look for you there. If you do a live thing, that's great. And you mentioned something about doing a Super Bowl thing.
A Super Bowl what?
I thought you were doing something with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we'll do. I'm going to do a Super Bowl show. You're welcome to join me.
Oh yeah, okay. Just let me know when you're going to do that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But guys, thanks so much for tuning in with us. This has been a lot of fun. Good luck tonight. I'll be doing a live stream later. Hopefully, Sheets can join me, and let's make a bunch of money tonight. We'll see you at the top of leaderboards. And go Lakers! R.I.P. Kobe.
And wait, so if we